Police got over 3,000 distress calls on Sunday from people panicked over riot-related rumours like violence, arson and stone pelting across the national capital. Around one-fifth of these calls on the emergency 100 and 112 numbers came from Shaheen Bagh in southeast Delhi and nearby areas in South Delhi, the official said on Monday. Panic gripped residents across the national capital on Sunday evening following false rumours of violence, but the police denied any incident and appealed for calm. Besides the PCR calls, several people from within Delhi as well as outside called up police officials, including officers, directly to verify information about violence breaking out. The rumours prompted senior police officers to come out on the ground and quell the hoax calls while also taking to social media to control the panic. Delhi Metro Rail also shut its services for some time and then resumed a little while later. The police said it was closely monitoring the social media accounts spreading fake news or rumours, and action will be taken against them. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyse Section 505 of the Indian Penal Code and tackling rumours. Joining me on the program today are Jitin Jain, digital technology expert; J. Sai Deepak, advocate of the Supreme Court; L.N. Rao, former IPS officer; and Mandeep Singh Randhawa, PRO, Delhi Police. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Randhawa, let me start the program with you. Let's first try and put into perspective and try and understand what is the SOP that you follow when you get such kind of rumours, and how difficult does it become for the police officers to deal in a situation where you get over 3,000 phone calls in a day?
Basically, firstly, I want to clarify that these 3,000 calls in a day are not much number, but we got approximately 1,800 calls in 2 hours, that is between 7 to 9 in the evening, and that too from 3 or 4 specific areas, that is from the Western Delhi, from the Rohini and from some parts of the Southeast Delhi. Then it's become a challenge for the police to tackle such a huge number of calls in 3 localities. Firstly, I will tell you what is the SOP. Normally, these calls put a burden on the sources of the police to respond to these calls, and secondly, it basically these these type of calls, it cause panic among the public. On that day itself, although we were able to contain the panic created by these calls, our SOP is that we try to reach the public as much as possible through the social media, through our visual and audio media. On that day also, we appealed the public to remain calm. Our senior officers were in the control room, and at the same time, our senior officers, they were in the field, and basically they were trying to clarify the rumours, and we also make use of social media as well as this TV channels.
Okay, all right. So since we're talking about social media, Jitin Jain, let me bring you into the picture now. So you have so much of negative messaging really on social media platforms. On the other hand, you have the police trying to put out those positive messages on social media. What's the biggest challenge when the authorities try to get rid of rumours and try and put those positive messages on social media?
I think we are trying to become seasonal experts. Look at this society. I think we are much to be blamed. In this very country just 6 months ago, and I think we did a couple of shows on your television also, that majority of mainstream electronic and print media, majority of section of this, our own very society in the liberal Delhi, was accusing government's proposal to monitor social media for hate speeches or false news or rumors during elections, and there were allegations that this government is trying to turn entire India into a surveillance state. They now want to monitor your personal activities on social media. They want to pin you down. And so it's a catch-22 situation for the government. If they want to, if there is a situation where thousands and thousands of fake videos and inciting hate mongering content is being put on social media, if we expect government to do something about it, obviously first thing what they have to do is to monitor it online and dig out. So the moment government tries to do it, there is a section of society which tries to bring some sort of insinuation that this is a dictatorial regime which is now going to monitor your social media activities. I think now it is time for us to introspect whether we as a society are willing to cede little space of our privacy in the larger interest of national security and society. Second, I think we all should understand that if government tries to put a camera in your bedroom or home, I agree that it is surveillance and spying. But if they want to put a camera on a public road to track some criminals or to, ensure that if somebody, does a hit and run case, they are able to track him down, then that is for your own safety and that is for the safety of public. Likewise, if they want to monitor your personal conversations on WhatsApp or personal chats on Facebook, that may be termed as surveillance. But merely an attempt by the government to monitor open source content like your Facebook walls, your Twitter walls, or Instagram handles where you want people to see what you are posting. If government wants to monitor that open source content for the larger national safety and security of society, I think we should desist from bringing down and abusing government. We must support the larger objective of state in those efforts, and that is the only way we can bring down or try and curb or create some sort of deterrence on these elements who are trying to create a situation using social media where life and order has become an issue now.
Okay, now this is where I'd like to bring you in as a lawyer, J. Sai Deepak. Firstly, on this whole issue of surveillance and privacy and the state versus fundamental rights.
See, the surprising part is the emphasis on privacy has increased hand in hand with the increased tendency of individuals to air their views on public platforms. Okay, so that seems to be a bit of a mutually destructive position to some extent. I'm not saying they necessarily destroy each other, but if you necessarily want to say something on a public platform to let the world know of your position on a certain thing, and then you expect the government to turn a blind eye to that particular content that you yourself have put out, then that could be a bit of an issue. Second, just to add to what Mr. Jain has said, on social media, at least on some platforms like Facebook, you get to decide the privacy setting with respect to the kind of access that you wish to provide to something that you say on your wall. So if you choose to make a certain statement public and therefore it is available for public and not just your friends to consume, then necessarily that particular statement or that particular position that you have taken becomes public by definition, because you have chosen that particular setting. So if you wish to keep something private, then behave in that particular fashion, and then if the government gets a backdoor in its collaboration with, say, these entities, with the social media entities, and then has access to something that you have deemed private, then that's a different issue. But even then, when it comes to law and order in general, the government always has the right to request these agencies and perhaps even direct and instruct them to share information which they believe is necessary if they believe that a certain post, albeit private, is responsible for a certain rumor mongering, is responsible for incitement of hatred, is responsible for, let's say, creating general ill will. But of course, the one thing is, the law is very clear that even when you choose to exercise your right to look at this content and you wish to take action preemptively, you may have to satisfy a few basic barriers, which is there a legitimate state interest? Obviously it is, particularly if the situation is so volatile given the circumstances we live in today. Therefore, the case for a legitimate state interest is self-evident. Okay, then the question becomes, to what extent can they have access using this as the pretext or a necessary justification or a justifiable, let's say, justification, so to speak? Then that's a question of proportionality. Then how do you choose to use that particular information? That is the third degree. Okay, so I do believe that while privacy concerns are legitimate and are always warranted, extraordinary situations and extraordinary circumstances by definition hand the state a legitimate constitutional excuse or a constitutional reason to invoke what is known as the police power of the state.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but
yes,
going back to the point that Jitin was making,
right.
Again, we can say that it's seasonal.
Of course it is seasonal. So the situation depends, or rather the situation decides the amount of power which the situation ends up giving to the state. Why? Because if the circumstance is volatile and you're looking at riots or you're looking at something else worse, then effectively the situation has handed the state the necessary excuse under the law to trigger a few mechanisms to have access to your information.
Okay.
Therefore, while it is seasonal, it is necessarily seasonal because it depends on, let's say, the kind of situation that the state is faced with. However, our position of expectation or let's say our standard expectation with respect to privacy should necessarily also be accordingly tailored. We can't expect the same degree of privacy that we have in peacetime that we have at the stage of, let's say, during an extraordinary situation or during wartime, so to speak, or when there is a riot. Okay, so having a standard expectation of privacy regardless of what happens to the rest of the society reflects poorly on the individual, because the individual is not able to put the society's interest over his interest.
Right. Okay, Mr. Rao, I'll just come to you in just a second, but Mr. Jain put up his hand. I wanted to come in and say something very quickly. Yes, Jitin Jain.
I think, Frank, we have a choice to make as a society whether we want our law enforcement agencies to be reactive or proactive. if you think that they might misuse their police powers, or if you want to bring in a doctrine of proportionality, if you want them to monitor social media after 48 people are killed, that is one way. But I think I would suggest that governments or law enforcement should monitor social media throughout the year, so that riots do not happen. I think that is the choice we want to make. Do you want to conduct postmortems, or do you want to save lives and ensure that people don't die?
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Rao, how difficult is it for the police to control what is happening on social media? Because it's an open platform, anyone can put in whatever they want to there.
No, it is in the interest of the general public that police should control the social media contents, what they are spreading over, and what that keeping in view the situation where on the ground. Look, recently the riots took place, and after that the rumors on the last Sunday I have seen that so many rumors were there in so many parts of our city. People were disturbed, and markets were closed, metro stations were closed, and that depends upon the situation, how it is rising. And so this social media are required to be controlled by the government, keeping in view the overall peace of the society. And if these are not controlled, and no doubt there is a privacy issue, but that privacy issue, as rightly said by my co-fellow, that privacy issue is also to be considered, keeping in view the overall national interest of our society and the interest of the society as well, because so many people have been killed in this riot, and if such riots again erupts because of the social media freedom, then it will definitely be very difficult. And controlling these social media platforms by the government, it becomes more important, especially in view of such situations. And so that the privacy rules and the fundamental rights and the human right activists saying that these have been encroached upon by the government, that I don't think that it is a right thing to say, because the police is doing whatever the police is doing, that is doing within their law, and to control the situation and to help the people to for their safety, own safety, and their property safety. So we should consider all these things, that keeping in view the social media expressions of the freedom of expressions which has been given by the Constitution of India, and with compared to that what is going on adversely to the society, and how the police can handle the situation, and that the police can perform their own duties, keeping in view all these things altogether. And it should be looked into totality, not in isolation. We can see anything that it is infringement of privacy.
Okay, all right. Taking the discussion forward now, Mr. Randhawa, has policing now become far more difficult with the use of technology, with the rampant use of social media, or do you believe that technology gives the police also an opportunity to tackle situations in a better manner?
You are right. Basically, with the coming up of these technologies, especially the various platforms in the social media, the policing is no doubt a bit tough these days. But at the same time, as you rightly say, this technology also provides an opportunity for the police to investigate, or for the detection or investigation of any crime. We are also updating our technology, and one thing is very clear: whoever is using the social media, he is basically leaving a digital print, and it's very easy for the police to work on these digital prints and catch the culprit. As rightly said, basically we are also maintaining a balance between the privacy and safety and security of the citizens, and Delhi police is constantly updating its technology and resources to monitor these social medias. You had seen in these cases in last few days how we counter the social media, and also we are monitoring the social media. We have registered almost more than 20 FIRs against all the persons who are spreading the fake news or hatred messages in the social media, and already arrested 1 or 2 persons. And in the coming days also we will closely monitor this social media and take the legal action whoever violates the law.
Okay, all right. Jitin Jay, this is where I'd like to bring you in now. See, the Delhi police might have the wherewithal really as far as the technology is concerned to deal with situations like this, But what about the rest of the police force, and what about technology as a whole?
I think skilled manpower within the law enforcement agencies across India has been a challenge, but I think situation is improving in the last 2 to 3 years because of the concentrated efforts by the Ministry of Home Affairs. So there is modernization of police which is going on, and you will see that certain states, especially like Delhi, Punjab, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Kerala, they are doing much better than many of the other states. But with the digitalization of society, we are facing another challenge of like for example, 60 to 70% of the overall cyber crimes you would see are the financial crimes like OTP frauds, and these crimes are like somebody stole 2,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees from PTM here and there, and these sort of cyber crimes are clogging the entire cyber ecosystem of most of the law enforcement agencies. So that is also becoming one of the challenges that when you have limitation of resources, how do you use the optimally utilize the resources in such a strain? And these financial crimes are happening throughout. So 60 to 70% manpower is deployed in that. And then you have these situations like riots in Delhi, where it is not only the citizens or some miscreants who are spreading false propaganda. There is also an element of foreign hand. For example, I think one of the hashtags which are trending in last 3-4 days was Delhi Genocide 2020. I mean, look at the word which is being used, genocide. And if you look, the majority of the handles which have been propagating them, they have been all, have the background of retweeting the tweets of Pakistani Inter-Services Public Relations Agency, ISPR, the infamous Asif Ghafoor, you would know. So, the habitual pathological liar we had sitting in Pakistan. So, majority of the content is being pushed by them. Now, if you look at the content with that hashtag, 50 to 60% photos are from, some random places which are not even in Delhi, like Bangladesh, some old, a country like Syria, and, old photos of Palestine. And then you are facing a challenge of, monitoring the society, and then you are left with a choice. Do you want to restrict social media usage during the riots? Or do you want to do something where it doesn't come to at that stage where you have to restrict social media like in Kashmir? So I think not only to prevent riots, but also to ensure that we remain a free society, we remain free users of social media without much of restrictions. So I think there is some sort of element of regulation, not controlling or I'm saying monitoring, but a regulation which is required for the conduct on social media, especially in the difficult situations.
Okay, all right. So we've spoken about technology, we've spoken about social media. Let's talk about the law now. Desai Deepak, what does Section 505 of the Indian Penal Code say as far as rumors are concerned?
So I'd like to split my response in two parts. One, the relationship between law and technology is always the technology is always going to be ahead of the law, and the law is going to play catch up. There is no running away from that at all. Okay, and even in a situation such as a riot or let's say any kind of an offense, the thief is always going to be proactive because it is in his interest to actually look out for his interest, and he is going to try and create a situation which changes the status quo, and the police is going to try and play catch up even there. Okay. 3, the influence of technology has been to let's say increase percolation, reach, and most importantly intensity as well. Okay. As a consequence of which, what has happened is the relationship between technology, privacy and the law has been significantly altered and revolutionized in the last, let's say, 10 years or so at the very least. And therefore, when we argue with respect to individual privacy from a conventional standpoint without taking into account the kind of revolution that technology has brought about, good and bad, okay, then perhaps it is slightly out of phase and it is out of sync with the reality. Okay, that is a fact. In fact, the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of this in this judgment of Yahoo versus Akash Chopra, where the court actually says that given that the electronic medium and the internet has such a massive reach, that was of course delivered in the context of defamation and all that, but still the court realizes that compared to the print medium, social media and electronic medium has a massive reach which is in several orders of magnitude better than the print medium. As a consequence of which, clearly there is a certain level of state interest in trying to police it a bit more. But of course, the general levels of policing will be different, and the levels of policing when there is a situation such as a riot is obviously going to be different, and that's going to be extraordinary. Okay, so that's the broad policy level answer. The specific question that you have put is with respect to Section 505. Section 505 has three parts. One is with respect to any incitement of act of an offence against the state, then with respect to a certain community or let's say a caste, religion, language, so on and so forth. Then is let's say an incitement of an offence against any uniformed person, which is an army member or a soldier or a member of an armed force. Okay. Then is of course one that is based on incitement or let's say commission of an offence at a place of worship. Okay. There is a significant overlap between Section 153A, which also speaks of promotion of enmity, between communities and 505, which is why by default, usually in cases involving 505, you bring in 153A, which need not be the case otherwise. 153A need not invoke 505, but 505 typically involves 153A. So what the Supreme Court has said in 3 different judgments, one is of 97, the other is of 2007, the other is of 2014, is that you have to look at 3 parts. 505 largely targets what is known as hate speech. And it asks itself, can you treat it as hate speech if you look at it from a reasonable person's standpoint, taking into account the situation in which that particular statement is made? Okay. Assume for a moment somebody says, I believe that this particular person has this particular faith who has committed this particular offense. And if you have reasonable grounds to make that particular statement, that is not hate speech. The law is very clear about that. And the central, let's say, focus of 505 is intent. Is it your intention to cause trouble? Is it your intention to incite action? Is it your intent to actually create actual trouble on the ground? So these are the factors that the Supreme Court has effectively culled out, which is very clear from the explanation to 505 itself, which clearly says the focus is based on whether it's a statement which is made on reasonable grounds, in good faith, and without any intent to cause trouble. If that is the case, you're out of 505. But here's where you have to ask yourself a simple question. Assume for a moment that a random news site publishes something. As a consumer of information, you're not in a position to verify that particular authenticity of that information. You don't like, but you retweet that particular information. So you are relying on a news report which has already been put out by a particular website. You believe that it's a legitimate website which puts out authentic information, you've retweeted. Can you be booked under 505 for retweeting something because you're responsible for dissemination and circulation of that particular news report, which you have genuinely believed? Then you fall back on the fact, I did not have any intent. I'm merely circulating something which has been put out by a news report.
Which I thought was right.
Right. And which I believe that the portal would have done its due diligence, because the due diligence is the responsibility of the journalist,
correct,
not the reader. The reader's job is to consume. He cannot responsibly consume, because today you have, let's say, explosion of information coming from all directions. So this particularly puts questions with respect to options available on social media which increase dissemination of a particular piece of information. Then what do you do?
Right.
That is the question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Catch-22,
Yes.
like Jitin Jain had pointed out earlier as well. So, Mr. Rao, do you also believe we can put an end to all of this if the public and the police work together, on a larger scale?
Correct. Yes, definitely. The public cooperation with the police is most important aspect of the policing. Correct. If for what police is there, police is for the public, and public should cooperate to the police, and then they should avoid all these mischief mongers, rumors. As rightly said, that reader has no option to verify it, whether it is true or not. But at the same time, the public man should think about it twice while retweeting it or forwarding it. So thinking that this message, maybe it is true or not, but in the circumstances, given circumstances as are prevailing nowadays, or any other circumstances, before forwarding or retweeting or sending it to someone else on the social media, again, he should think that this may have repercussions, and so he should contain all these things. And as you rightly said, the cooperation of public with the police is most important, and on Sunday also.
And also vice versa also, don't you think? Because even the police has to do its bit really to go out to the public and ensure that they are there for them.
Police has to reach to the public to gain confidence of public into them. So if the public don't have any confidence in the local police area, then it's useless. That connotation of police public relations is useless. So the police should look forward, and they should step forward to get cooperation of public. Public definitely is ready to cooperate to the police, but subject to the police should also be coming forward to get that favor from the public. Okay. And that is most important. And now in such circumstances also, I must tell you that SHO of that area, who is having interface with the all important persons in his own locality and under his jurisdiction, and by way of meetings, by calling the peace area meeting and Thana level coordination meetings. So the important people who are visiting to the SHO, and at the time of this crisis, those people can help the local area SHO, then they can bring the peace and calm under control, because people also are abiding by the orders of such important persons who are heading the society, small components of the society, and they are interacting with the local police itself. Right. So this the public and police, if they work in tandem, and they definitely can control the situation, and rightly it was done. I appreciate the efforts of Delhi police on last Sunday evening when the rumors were separated so many places in Delhi, and it was brought under control. I talked to the additional CP of that West District also, and then they said it's all under control.
Sure.
And on so many other TV channels I spoke on phono, that I also appeal to the people that there is nothing going on. Don't believe in the rumors,
Right.
and be very wise to accept what is being circulated on social media.
Okay, yes, Deepak, you want to say?
So I think sir made a very important point. Just as you have an expectation of privacy as an individual, the thing is, when it comes to social media, they make it easy for you to circulate information. So it has actually generated a certain trigger happy behavior on our part, where instant forwards happen without even looking or without even consuming. Half the time I don't think people even go through what they're forwarding.
Yes.
They simply just forward it merely because they see a certain face on the thumbnail or whatever it is. So that trigger happy mentality is something which the individual needs to curb before he decides to impose his notions of privacy entirely at society's expense, so to speak.
Sure.
So I do believe that while there is an expectation of privacy on the part of the individual, there is a significant amount of duty that comes with a particular expectation, which is to behave responsibly. If you believe that a certain piece of information is apocryphal, is unreliable, and does not have credibility, think twice before you circulate it, even if it supports a certain opinion that you think is right.
Okay, all right. I've got very limited time on the program, 2 minutes left. I'm going to get closing comments from all my panelists with the best way forward. Starting first with you, Mr. Randhawa.
I will like to sum it up at all. Firstly, the police public relation. This is the prime important. And Delhi police has basically given the various platforms, like we have the Aman committee meetings, we activated our Aman committee meetings, we have the police mitras, and in the social media we have the Twitter account, we have available on the Facebook, we have Delhi police traffic Twitter account, and we are also having active interaction with the people at large, and this helped us to clarify the rumors in last Sunday. Which was appreciated by each and everyone. And another thing I want to just through your program want to appeal to all the residents of Delhi that whenever they are retweeting or just forwarding the message in the WhatsApp or any other social media platform, they must verify whether it's true or false. And Delhi police recently has yesterday itself given the advertisement, and we released 50 additional numbers of all the district control rooms from which any fact can be verified.
Okay, all right. That's a fantastic initiative. I think that should be used more and more by the public. Jitin Jain, closing comments?
You know, I think there was a study conducted by Harvard University last year, and they found, so they had put certain contents on online platforms, and some of them were fake, some of them were real, and they found that fake contents had 80 times more chances of going viral than the real content. People like the fake news. They feel it is, juicy because of an inquisitive nature, and they forward it. If you send a real content or a clarification, or you bust a fake news, people don't forward. So I think that is the bigger problem in society, that we are habitual to send fake content and make it go viral.
Yeah, consumers of fake news is what you're suggesting,
and
that's something
that's
something that needs to change. Mr. Rao?
Yes, deterrent action against the rumor spreading people by the police is most important, and that will have a far-reaching effect on so that nobody else should think about it to spread the rumors.
Right.
And particularly the people should forward or re-forward or retweet it after thinking twice that whether what will have is far-reaching effect of that.
Okay, all right. And Jai Sai Deepak, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
A light travels the world by the time the truth has had an opportunity to try its shoes. So that's effectively how it works. And that's always been human nature, I think. But I do believe that society has a significant role to play in such situations when they realize that technology empowers and it cuts both ways. Therefore, they play a significant role in dissemination of any kind of rumors. So as I said, an expectation of privacy must go hand in hand with the clear realization of responsibility on your part, that you shouldn't